Welcome to Veteran Cancer Talk by the Veteran Cancer Network. I'm your host, Ashton, and today I'm joined by Jennifer Worthy, a caregiver, veteran, and cancer advocate. Welcome, Jen.
Hi, glad to be here.
Yes, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about you and Joe prior to the cancer diagnosis. Going to get right back into it.
Yeah, all right, let's jump right in. Prior to cancer, Joe and I had already been married for 24 years. I say that we've lived more of our adult life together than our non-adult life not being with each other. So, we have a great love story. We try to remember that every single day. We were very young when we got married. We've moved a lot. We've experienced a lot, traveled. We have a big family. We've been through the ups and downs of doing things like starting businesses and deployments and military life, separation, all of those things. And so I would say that before cancer, we were strong in love, really love our life, love our family. So I think that's a little bit about us.
No, wonderful. So you brought it up. How did you two meet? What was your love story? Tell me.
It's really a funny love story, actually, and I like telling our love story. So Joe was enlisted. He worked on the base, a Navy base. He was one of the only Marines on a Navy base during the day. I was in nursing school working at Arby's at night in town where the military base was. My husband was also a paramedic, and you probably can remember those days of like making $19,000 a year, being in the military, and like you had to have two jobs just to make ends meet. So Joseph would get off the base, his day shift, and he would stop at Arby's every single night, and he would go to the night shift working at the ambulance service. And he would order the same exact sandwich every single night. It was called the Big Montana at Arby's. And I thought it was so gross. This man came in and ate like a half a pound of roast beef every single night. So this was like the late summer, early fall, and Thanksgiving was coming. And I said to him, I go, Thanksgiving is coming. We're not open on Thanksgiving. Like, what are you even going to eat? And he was like, oh, I don't know. I'll figure it out. So I said, well, why don't you just come to my house? I mean, we have a big family. We're a big military family, even though, even without Joe. My dad's a Marine, grandfather, all of this stuff. And I was like, just come to my house. My mom won't mind. My family fell in love with him. I fell in love with him. 5 months later, we moved in together. A year later, we were married. And then 28 years later, we've named our dog Montana after sort of our love story.
That is so funny. I love that. And it's such a typical military romance too. I'm not
Yeah.
that's funny.
So we like to laugh about it to this day.
Absolutely, you have to.
Yeah.
Now, how many kids do you both have?
So my husband has two children from a prior marriage. So I have two stepchildren, and then we have a son and a daughter together for a total of four.
Oh, wonderful. And so how, I guess, coming from a mixed family myself, how was the dynamic? Was, everybody get along kind of growing up?
Our kids got along really well, actually. I think that the hardest part was adjusting to, I mean, I was a very young stepmother. My husband was still learning how to, be a long distance dad or a shared custody kind of dad. And I didn't know what I was getting into. So I think the blended family dynamic was probably harder for us to navigate than it was for the kids. But even as adults, I think they get along well. And I'm really glad that they have each other, especially during these, more difficult situations.
Oh, absolutely. Now, Joe served during the Gulf War, correct?
Correct. Yep.
So when did you first learn about the toxic exposure that, he may have been around?
It's really funny when I first had confirmation of the toxic exposure he had been around. It really actually wasn't until he got cancer. He knew that he had been exposed to toxins. I mean, he knew that he, was sitting under a burning oil field day after day. He knew of like, this doesn't seem right. This could be bad for my health, that sort of thing. But we heard about, desert war syndrome, and it was a big mystery and a question question mark. And why do these guys have these issues? And there were these common things like gastro issues and migraine issues and brain tumors. And nobody really was forthcoming about putting the connection together that it could have been from a toxic exposure. It wasn't until he first got cancer and the PACT Act was really gaining momentum. It hadn't actually even passed yet, but it was gaining momentum as this toxic exposure and cancer connection is a very real thing. So it actually wasn't until he got sick.
Goodness. Now, I mean, there was no acknowledgement from, the government about any of those risks. Because you said that, the oil fields or, the oil was sitting there burning when he was out in the Gulf War, correct?
Yes, yep. So Joe was the second wave of Marines that had been deployed in, and they sat everybody's families down, and they didn't even expect any of them to come home. So it was a very heavy thing for a 19-year-old. So I think you're processing that and wondering if you're even going to get home while you're sitting under these burning oil fields, which actually I think they say now it was one of the largest man-made environmental disasters in our history. And, he's sitting underneath that every day, not registering at the time as a 19-year-old, wondering if he's even going to get home, that could potentially come back and haunt him all these decades later.
Yeah, so there really wasn't any worry about any long-term health consequences from his military service until really the PACT Act is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even talked about.
Goodness. Now, where were you when you first learned that he had cancer or suspected?
So we had relocated to Phoenix, and we had been here just a couple of years, and I was at work. And he hadn't been feeling well, and he's a typical guy. He's like, I'm going to tough this out. It's just a stomach ache. I travel a lot for work, even internationally. And I had just gotten back from a trip to India. And he said, I didn't feel good while you were away, and I'm having a lot of pain eating, and I think I'm just going to go to the doctor's. And the morning that he went to the doctor, I was actually scheduled to get on a plane and leave again. And so I was in between work trips when I found out that he had stage 3 cancer.
My goodness.
Yeah.
What went through your mind in that moment? Were you sitting next to him when he found out, or were you
I
completely separate parts
wasn't.
of the world?
I wasn't. I was. I was away for work, and I don't even think that we thought it was anything. To be quite honest, we definitely did not think that it was cancer. It was like, we're going to get a colonoscopy, and we're going to check this out, and we're going to do all these biopsies and these tests. And I went to the colonoscopy with him, and they brought me back into. I was completely alone. I mean, it was just speaks to how unprepared I was that this couldn't even be cancer, right? Like, it didn't really even cross my mind that this could be what it was. And they brought me back into this little room, and I was like, nobody else got called back into a little room. Like, what's happening here? And a nurse came in and a social worker came in, and the gastroenterologist came in a couple minutes later, and he was like, we found something. It's pretty characteristic of cancer. We still have to have it tested. And I wasn't worried. I thought, there's no way, like, not my husband, right? There's no family history of cancer. So I think we left that day feeling like a healthy amount of concern, but not over the edge. Like, I didn't fall apart. I wasn't crying. It wasn't registering for me because it really wasn't even real yet. And then I was away on a work trip when he got the phone call from the biopsy with the confirmation that it was cancer.
Yes. So how did, I mean, obviously you have 4 children together. How did you tell your children? Was this, were they in college? Were they there? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so they're all adults by that point in time, except for our daughter. She was 15, still living at home. She was out of state at a program at that point in time. It was sort of like how do we tell them, and how do we tell them without worrying them? Because we are still trying to figure out what we don't know. I think that our middle son probably took it the hardest. He also was in the military, and I think it was just like, it wasn't as just even worrying for his dad. It was now like, is this a risk factor I have to now also be worried about because I've served in the same places and I've seen the same things my dad has seen. I think it was hard on every single one of them. But then, our son being a veteran too, it was like there was a very different connection. It's been very emotional and hard for him. Our daughter, she's the youngest. This is his only baby girl. And it's kind of like my dad's my rock and he's my protector. And like, what happens if I'm not here? Like, who protects the family, right? So I think it was hard on all of them in different ways.
Goodness. Now, I do want to take a step back. At what age was your husband when he was starting these health issues, and did it take a couple of months, or was it, over years that he was realizing that, he was having symptoms before he actually was diagnosed?
Um, his cancer happened pretty quickly, I think. It was the spring when he started feeling like he was having stomach issues. He was 50 years old at that time. I make sure he gets his physical every single year. So there was nothing like coming up to be concerned about. You're getting the typical CBC blood works, and you're being told like, oh, you're not old enough yet for a prostate screening. You're not old enough yet for a colonoscopy. So it was the spring, and then by fall is when he was diagnosed and was already stage 3.
Now, did he go through the VA for his first diagnosis, or was he going through private healthcare?
We went through private healthcare because we have already navigated the VA healthcare system. I mean, we've been out of the military for decades at this point. Joseph has had his fair share of service-connected disability already. And I think you just finally get a little frustrated with getting told no all the time. And I think this was serious enough that we were like, well, we have great and private insurance, and we'll just take this path. And if it turns out being something, we'll see what the VA can do, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Now, did you and Joe face any challenges getting, the treatment approved or paid for?
We have had challenge after challenge after challenge. And that's typical and unfortunate of the VA health system. I think as a caregiver and as his advocate, what this diagnosis opened my eyes up to was that he needed me now probably more than ever in a very different way. I'm not minimizing his mental health struggles and trying to get help from the VA for that. He also has some knee issues from an injury during training and trying to get help for that. It was sort of like, you know what, we're just going to take it and leave it with these sort of things, and we'll get help in other ways. But with this diagnosis, it was very different because the medical bills are daunting. I mean, these are astronomical bills just to get to the point of diagnosis, and that before you were even talking about treatment and the costs of treatment. And I felt so strongly that the VA, like this time it was going to have to be different. We couldn't go bankrupt over this. This was very clearly service connected, but navigating this system to get those approvals and authorizations it's quite frankly been heartbreaking. Probably sometimes even feels like a nightmare.
I mean, it sounds like you were fighting really two battles, obviously the cancer and then the system.
I feel every day that I fight this system, and I'm not just now doing it for my husband because I'm so passionate about what I have seen him go through. It's any veteran's spouse or caregiver, parent that wants to reach out to me and talk to me. I mean, I've met wonderful couples over the past few years since he got diagnosed. Just they don't even know what's available to them, and they don't even know what form to start and where do I go. And it's educating them just on what they're entitled to start the process on.
The system can definitely feel daunting. So
For sure.
what were, I guess, the chemo, the first go around, what was that like for you and your family?
Yeah, so Joe, he went to surgery very quickly before he started chemo. So I think that in that space between surgery and chemotherapy, we all just felt like a bomb was just ticking. You know, again, you hear stage three cancer and you're sort of like, okay, what does this mean? How much time do I have left? How long is he going to feel good? How long are we going to feel normal as a family? And can we pack the good memories in right now? So time just became really precious for us while also trying to be very sensitive and compassionate to the feeling that he's sick. He doesn't feel good. And he's healing from a major surgery and dealing with a lot of this acceptance in his own head. And then he started chemotherapy about 2 months after his after diagnosis because he had to heal from surgery, and it was just hard. You know, we pulled together as a family. It was, you know, who's driving him today, and how do you get the house ready? And what I learned that first time around was you can prepare all you want, but you have to let him and his body guide what his support needs to look like. You know, I rushed out and, you know, bought like the little ginger lozenges and the you know, vomit bags. And it was like I set up the room with the body pillows and the tables. And it was like, well, that pillow's not even comfortable. And I can't stand the taste of ginger, and the smell of hand sanitizer makes me nauseous. Like, I learned pretty quickly that he needed to guide us and we needed to just respond to what he could tolerate. So chemo the first time around was a learning experience.
Absolutely. I fell in that same trap because as caregivers, we just want to fix, you know, because
Yes.
they're having to go through this horrific deal. And then you're like, okay, especially as a mother too, and as a wife, I just
Hmm.
wanted to fix everything. And I found out real quickly that you can't do that. Now,
Yeah. And your help and level of preparation, sometimes it's just overwhelming for them. And I learned that pretty quickly as well.
yeah. Now, what did remission feel like for you and Joe and your family?
Um, It felt like hope. You know, I remember him ringing that bell. We were on the tail end of COVID, so it was pretty lonely. You know, it was pretty isolating, but we still celebrated that moment. We actually went away for the weekend, and we had a big party for him. All of our friends and family came. Like, it was a really hopeful time. Like, we did it together. Like, you beat this. We got over it. This was something that we actually thought was going to be a lot more disruptive to our life than it was, when in fact our small business had never been stronger. We grew tremendously even while he was sick. I was in a great job. We were doing really wonderful things. Our kids were doing well. So it just felt like, okay, chapter over, and we still got a lot of stuff done, and we, you know, didn't lose hope, and here we are, and we're trudging forward.
That's wonderful. When you learned that cancer had returned and it returned more aggressively, what went through your minds?
Um, Cancer this time around has been defeating. It's been it's almost even just been really difficult to put into words. It's like I remember the oncologist saying to Joseph, go live your life like this never happened. And you hang on, and I'm sure he meant it, right? But you hang on to those words, and to me those words also meant this isn't going to happen again. So I think I still, even like 60 days after diagnosis now, this time around, I still feel like I am not even to the level of acceptance, because I almost can't believe that this has happened again. There's been a lot of tears. It's been incredibly heavy. It's felt like the hope has been diminished a little bit, because at least right now we have heard that surgery is just not going to do much for him. Prognosis has not been great. And it's scary. It's very, very scary this time around because there's nothing left after stage 4, right? Like this is it. And, I'll go back to words just for a minute. We met with a surgeon this time around who had said, Joe, you're at a place where this is just where the cancer is camped out today. And we can get rid of this campsite, but a new campsite is just going to come up. And it could be 6 months. Like I could get this campsite gone and maybe get you 6 months off of aggressive chemotherapy, but the campsite's just going to come back somewhere else. So dealing with the heaviness of all of that has been really hard.
No, I can't even imagine. How did the conversation as a family differ with this diagnosis?
Well, I think that the military does a really good job of creating a sense of identity for you. And so this particular diagnosis at this stage, you try to not, like for him, right? He's trying so hard to not make it a part of his identity now, even though it has slowed him down. It's changed our life, and it's changed how much time we might have with our children, how much time he's going to have with his grandchild. And so the conversations with the family this time around definitely felt more like, is this final? How much time do I have with you, Dad? We've rallied around him. We're tough, but it doesn't take away from the fact that we love him and he is such a strong part of our family, and we can't imagine him not being at that dinner table. And so I think that is how we are all still trying to process this is, what does this look like if he's not here? And that's very real.
So let's go ahead and switch to the role of a caregiver. So what does being a caregiver actually look like on a day-to-day basis for you and for your family?
Um, for me, it's on a day-to-day basis, it's just making sure that everybody has what they need. I had to make a conscious decision this time around that I was not going to be able to carry everybody's emotional baggage, whereas the last time I tried really hard to just be very protective of everybody. I tried really hard to just soften the messages from the medical community to what this actually meant for them in their life. And this time around, our children are older. Our family dynamic is a little bit different. My parents are aging who live with us. And so I needed to recognize that I can't be that emotional shock absorber this time around, because day to day, that is what I had put myself in the role of being. I still work a full-time job. I am the only income for my family now. There's 4 of us living under our roof. I'm the only income. We still have a small business, so I'm trying to support him and run that every single day. Make sure that there's groceries in the fridge. Make sure that he has probably 3 to 5 medical appointments almost every single week. Where do we need to be? What does our schedule need to look like? So there's a lot of planning. There's a lot of Post-it notes that go on the fridge every single day. I'm lucky that I am organized, but I'm tired. By the time 8 o'clock at night hits, I'm very tired, and that's day to day. That's what looking like or being a caregiver looks like for me.
Mm. Yeah, I remember having to do the boundary setting, especially whenever
hmm
it comes to my own mental health. It's not an easy conversation to have, especially with, your loved ones. But you're right. You need to be able to sit there and take care of yourself so you can, take care of Joe.
Yeah. And I don't think that I'm very lucky, like in my life, even my work family, everybody has been incredibly supportive and nobody has lacked any empathy. But as the time goes on, right, and you want your loved one to have life and time, people still forget. You're going to a lab every week. You have chemo every other week. I, as a caregiver, am still dealing with a lot of things every single day. And I'm still trying to have my own identity and the things that are important to me. And I think the space that goes on from the diagnosis to, okay, but he looks okay and he made it through chemo this week. There's sort of this forgetfulness that a caregiver is still very prone to burnout. Our marriage gets, just statistically is very more fragile in a cancer diagnosis. And so even like the smallest asks can feel like it's going to just crack the whole house. So we have to say no to a lot of things. I have to be that person that says, can't come to that party, or nope, can't get together tonight for dinner because I need to go take a nap.
Yeah. So what do you do for self-care? That I think that's a really important thing, because I know it's something that I'd struggled with when Casey was going through chemo. Have you figured it out yet?
I want to say I am better at it than I have ever been. For self care, number one, when I'm tired, I just go lay down. I have a couch in my office now, and I will just go take a nap. Even if it's 15 minutes, if I just need to close my eyes and recharge my batteries for a minute, or I'll get a phone call and it was particularly frustrating, a new lab work that wasn't good. I just step away. Meditation every single day has become my friend. I stay away a lot from sort of Western medicine, and I don't mean to offend anybody with this comment. Like, if you should see somebody, or if you need to talk to somebody, you need anxiety medicines. Like, being a caregiver can cause a ton of anxiety and stress, and if you need that, that's great. But I try to do more natural things like breathings and oils, and can't all afford massages, but I try and treat myself to a massage every other month, then like maybe going out and having an expensive dinner. So just really being in connection with my mind and body, and being very intentional about paying attention to that connection. That is my go-to with self-care.
I will have to take some lessons from you as well. So I think that's something a lot of people, those that are, going through a diagnosis, and those that, are just living their day-to-day lives, it's important to take care of yourself. But I do want to circle back to something that, you had said about, that with the real, role of a caregiver. And it has to go with misunderstandings, how people can, misunderstand, basically what your role is. So have you had any experiences in your, throughout this entire, diagnosis period, either the first go around or the second, where people just kind of either walked away, didn't know how to talk to you, or Joe or your family, or just any misunderstandings at all?
Yeah, and I mean, I think that it's something that I still experience, weekly. It doesn't stop. I we've had friends just completely walk away. You have people that stop checking on you, and they stop asking you because you've had to say no, to certain get-togethers or gatherings. You don't get invited to the weddings anymore, or you have family that just stops calling. And that has probably been one of the most hurtful parts of all of this. And I get it. Everybody goes through their own things, or they maybe make assumptions around expectations, but I've just had to really remember that my husband comes first, and his safety, our energy, our faith in God, and our time for one another and for our family. That's really what I have the energy for. And as hurtful as it can be, like, we literally, I have girlfriends that we used to talk every day. We used to take trips together. We'd get, I don't even talk to them anymore. Like, they just sort of walked away. We have family that just, they know he's even sicker this time around, and literally haven't even picked up the phone and called. I can't understand that, I guess, for myself. But coming to terms that everybody deals with somebody else's cancer diagnosis differently is just something that you have to do, and you can't take it personal. You have to build your community around what you have and not what is gone. But I'm glad you raised that point, because it's very real in these diagnoses.
Well, I think a lot of people are uncomfortable when you say the word cancer. And I think some of it has to do with the fact that Hollywood does a great job of making the word cancer even scarier than,
Hmm.
it's meant to be. Because there can be, things that happen that, like you and Joe were, able to pull together and have the family come together, and think about some of those positives away. But why do you think that, besides the Hollywood aspect of it, why do you think cancer makes people so uncomfortable where they want to pull away, or they just inadvertently pull away?
I mean, this is probably a little bit controversial, but I'm going to say it anyways. I just think people have their own stuff going on, and giving somebody your emotional energy is it's a heavy lift, right? Like, I have a girlfriend, had a girlfriend. Her mother passed away at pretty much the same time that Joseph got diagnosed. And I think it was healing for her to be there every single day. But when she didn't need that healing anymore, she pulled away completely. She was both mine and Joseph's friend. She pulled away completely because I think that emotional energy for people, it's just too hard for them. And I'm not, saying they're selfish or anything, but I just think everybody has their own stuff going on, and maybe it's something that they just don't want to carry anymore. And so for their own, mental well being or change, even like maybe they need a change. Like, look, cancer can be sad, it can be heavy. So, they just pick up and decide to walk away because they need a change in their life.
Now, I know, at least for our experience, we had people that walked away because they didn't know what to say, they didn't know what to do, they didn't know how they could help. Do you have any advice for those people on, how they can help you or help Joe or your family, or any advice on that?
Yeah, I tell this to people all the time because maybe you experienced it too, but it was like when Joe first got sick, people were sending soup and they were sending Panera every day, right? And it was like, we're going to send them the gift cards and we're going to, send flowers and all of these things. We tell everybody the biggest thing that you can do for us is to keep living your life and let us be a part of it. Invite us to the cookout. If we can come, we want to be there. Come over and just sit with us. We may not have anything to do it per se or talk about, but come just sit here and be company with us. One of our children had actually said, like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And we said to him, you're supposed to keep being a great father and a good husband. And you're supposed to come visit us every once in a while with no expectations that we're talking about cancer, right? Like, that's what you're supposed to do. We don't need the financial support. And as nice as food is, quite frankly, most days he can't even eat. So don't exhaust yourself thinking you need to do something substantial and show up with like a tangible thing. Just be there. I will tell you that the text messages mean more to me than anything. It's not even like needing to go buy a card and put it in the mail with a postage stamp. Like, just text me that you're thinking of me today. It goes a really long way.
Absolutely. Now, I want to circle back to asking for help, because there are times that, the appointments, obviously they take away from all aspects of your home life, whether it's cleaning, mowing the grass. So I don't know if you have to do that in Arizona, isn't it kind of desert out there? But that was something that Casey and I had problems with. Is the house was obviously getting out of control at times, so my mom was able to help, and it was really really wonderful for that. But how hard was it for you to ask for help in those moments? And did you even know what to ask for? Because I know that for me, everybody was saying, what can I help with? How can I help? What can I do? And it got to the point where it was a little overwhelming. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm just trying to, breathe over here.
Yeah. I would say the first time around, I was very adamant, like, I am staying in my schedule. I am still cleaning my own house. I am doing my own laundry and my own yard work and driving Joe to every appointment. I probably am a little bit of a control freak, but I try and tell everybody like I do it to not burden you because there's a way I like things done. But even towards the tail end of that first time around, I had to realize that I couldn't do it all. It was like, okay, Dad, I need you to drive Joe to chemo this week, and I'm going to be out of town. So, Mom, I need you to cook on these days. And I this time around, it's not hard. It is not hard. And if someone says no, or I can't, or I don't have the time, I just move on to the next person on the list. Because caregiver burnout is so real. And I think that you will, when you start adding up the pressure of the responsibility list that is on you, you will want to go crawl in a hole. You will not want to get out of bed. And the way that you avoid that is then to just say, I have a tribe of people who have been asking, what can I do? Sometimes there's even just, if you don't have people around you, there are organizations out there that will help you. We have a great organization here in town. They will drive any veteran to any medical appointment. You just got to go find those resources and ask for help and not be afraid to do it. I promise you will be blessing someone's day when you ask them if they can help you.
Absolutely. Now, we've talked a lot about the heavy parts, but
Yeah.
I'd love to talk about some of the strength in your marriage, kind of throughout all of this. So, first of all, have you seen a different side of Joe through all of this?
I, for the first time, I think I see more vulnerability out of him. Don't get me wrong, my husband is still a very strong, very proud Marine.
Absolutely.
He- like to the end, right? Um, he is, and it's just the way that he is. He is not someone that talks about his feelings. There's not a lot of emotional moments there, and there still isn't to this day, but there are more of those moments now than there have ever been in our 28-year marriage this year, where the thoughts feel more deep. There feels like he's willing to maybe give a little bit more exposure to what's going on in his head. And I don't take those moments for granted. I sit and I know them because we've been together for so long. I'm like, oh, that's a new moment in our marriage. I'm really going to just lock in on this moment. And those have just been incredible moments for us.
So, what makes you most proud of him today?
The fact that he is not going to lay down to this, not to this diagnosis, not to this system. This man still gets up every single day and says, I'm still going to run my business. I am still going to participate in this community. I am still going to fight for veterans. I'm still going to meet my goals. Everybody would understand. I think so many people get this diagnosis and they let it become their entire identity. They stop participating in life and they become the diagnosis. And I am so proud of him that the kids might call it, he's in a little bit of denial. I don't think that that's what it is, but he'd be like, I'm not sick. I just have a tumor that's bothering me right now. And so I'm proud. I'm most proud of his mindset.
That's wonderful. Now, have you seen a different side of yourself either through the first diagnosis or now?
I think the change in me has come this second time around. Honestly, I feel stronger this time around. I feel more focused this time around. Focused on what matters. Rushing out and like buying him everything and checking things off the bucket list is not so much. Those aren't really the things that matter. Whereas the first time around, I was like, death is imminent. What are we doing? This time around, it's like, nope, we still have goals and we still have dreams and we still have travel we want to do. And we're still going to love each other and love this life. And I am just really living in that moment more than I ever have.
So, what does in sickness and health mean to you now? Obviously, it has been, I have a hard time finding caregivers and the survivors still together. And I think a lot of it has to do with that in sickness and in health.
In sickness and in health, for me, it's it means we are still a married couple, madly in love with each other as we were 28 years ago today. That is first. It is God and it is our marriage. And then it's choosing health over the sickness. It's choosing every single day, even when you don't feel great, to say, I'm still healthy. I'm still here. I'm still alive. I'm still able to make these memories and have these moments. And choosing all of that and then dealing with what the sickness gives you in between and not hanging on to it. We could easily make our lives about the sickness, but we just choose the health part first.
Great advice. Now, I want to talk about some of the advocacy that you have done. So during Joe's first diagnosis, you said that you had wrote to so many different representatives and shared his story, his photo. What pushed you to do that?
Um, I'm so glad you asked this question. I have never, listen, veterans' wives are something else, right? Like, I have met so many spouses that are like me, have that drive like me. It's probably because we know how to pack up a house in 24 hours. We know how to get stuff done in a week, right? And this was just a new challenge for me. It was like, my husband is sick. It's not genetic now, it's service connected. I started reading about the toxic exposures. I started reading about the PACT Act. It had not passed yet. And I just felt this calling that he has a story to tell and people need to hear this story. And so what had motivated me the most was actually the lack of screenings and the lack of information out there to veterans about their risk factors. Like, who would have ever thought a 40-year-old should start getting routine colonoscopies, right? And you had all of these other risk factors just simply from being a veteran, that you are probably at a higher risk for this list of cancers that you should start getting screened for. And I was so outraged that the first time I had heard about service connected cancer was when he was stage 3 already. So I got an 8 by 10 photo of him. It was actually his Paris Island, the cheesy little
Embodiment,
like
yes.
headshots, right? I had that blown up, color printed. That was my cover photo because I wanted to send a message with my letter. I sent a letter in a big envelope so it could not be ignored to every single senator in this country. And I said, this is my husband and this is his story. And this government needs to do something more of making veterans aware of their risk factors and that they need to start getting screened. Every veteran I know now, I'm like, did you get your screening this year? Did you get your screening this year? I don't care what age they are. Like, you have to start doing it. And that's what you can tell I'm passionate about it, but that's what drives me every day because I don't ever want another family to be sitting in that room and be like, it's stage 3 cancer. And maybe 5 years ago you could have known and warded this off differently.
Absolutely. Did you hear back from any of the senators? Did you feel heard when you were, writing? And tell me about that. Did you feel heard?
I don't feel like I did not feel heard. But at that time, our country was in a really weird place, right? Like, we were right in the middle of COVID, and I don't even think we knew how to act. Let alone like respond to our constituents and our veterans and this and that. So I heard back from a number of them that said, thank you for reaching out. Like Mark Kelly's office here in Arizona, obviously, like I think they reached out because, we are right here in Arizona. But a couple of them reached out and just said, thank you for bringing, forward his story. We'd love to talk to you one day. But I think a lot of it died really quickly just because we were in a weird place in our country. But even that aside, like, I don't know how hurt our veterans' stories are.
Mm. Now, you also started your own nonprofit. What inspired that?
So, since Joe's first diagnosis, we have gotten much more involved in the veteran community, and we're very lucky to live in Arizona where a lot of veterans retire too. So, we have a very active veteran community. It was very easy to get a lot of awareness for Joe's story and what we were trying to get out there and talk about with screenings and prevention. And so, it then turned to this emotion of these guys and these women get together still because a lot of times they only have each other. We seem to be living in a time where it's very easy to forget about the sacrifices that our military service members have made. And the gratitude promise was recognition in action. It was more than just remembering them on Memorial Day or hanging wreaths at Christmas. It was sitting beside them when they got a cancer diagnosis. It was showing up for a spouse that didn't know what form to fill out for getting a claim filed, or that you can even do this online now. Like, I still get shocked by how many families do not even know that they can start their claim process online now. They think it still has to be done with appointments and paper. So it was recognizing them and still honoring all of the sacrifices that they made in very intentional ways where they felt honored.
No, I think that's wonderful. How do people get involved with your nonprofit?
So we just starting out, this was something that became an idea of mine when Joe first got sick, as we started talking to more people. And then as the years got, on, it was like, okay, I really have to start this year. I really have to start this year. So people can get involved. We'll be launching our website shortly. It's thegratitudepromise.org. And I think the easiest way for people to get involved right now is that if you know a veteran, just thank them. Do something genuinely meaningful for them that remembers that they served this country, and that service, the things that came along with that service did not end the day that they discharged. If you're an employer, take a chance on a veteran. If you are out and you see somebody collecting money for a veterans, charity, like, put $1 in there, right? Like, everybody can Zelle now. Just do something that feels really meaningful. And as we get the charity launched, I'll be able to come back and tell you more about how to get involved.
Yes, absolutely. We'd love to have you back.
Thank
Now,
you.
you're also our newest board member at the Veteran Cancer Network. Why do
Yes,
you say
thank you.
yes?
Very easy, yes. And it's funny. I was connected to you and the organization on LinkedIn. I'm a very avid writer for my own profession, and I stay very involved with a lot of veteran advocacy individuals on LinkedIn, and got connected to you through somebody else, which was really fun to try and meet. Like, that's the power of LinkedIn, right? But it was a really easy yes, because I went to VCN's website and I said, this is exactly what I was trying to do 4 years ago, but it's matured, and they now have resources, and they've got the concept for a test, and I have the energy to bring I have the energy to sort of bring the awareness, and I've very much got a living, breathing story right now to be a piece of the puzzle. So I said yes enthusiastically because I'm ready to get to work, and I'm very ready to create this awareness that VCN is trying to bring.
Thank you. No, we're excited to have you. Now, what is your hope that, we accomplish, for families like yours?
Testing. Testing. I just can't say it enough. It's like testing and screening and awareness. And there are not nights where I don't stay awake. And I think every family member will go through this and think, if screening had been available, if I had known my husband's risk factors just because he served and just because of where he served, maybe we would have started getting him screenings at 35 and at 40. Would it be stage 4 today if we had had screenings? I try very hard to stay out of my anger for the late, what feels so much like an injustice of a late diagnosis. And I want families to have access to screenings and testing at no cost to them.
What a powerful message. And we hope to be able to do that with your help and with the rest of the board. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us today on the Veteran Cancer Network. We appreciate your time. We appreciate everything that you're doing for your community. And of course, our thoughts and prayers are with you and Joe and the rest of your family during this time.
Great. Thanks for talking with me today.